Ma'am, that's not real medicine. You can't bring street drugs on this plane. Those were the first words that set everything in motion. The words that landed like a slap in the face. Except this slap didn't leave a mark you could see. It just hung there, sticky and humiliating, in the stale air of Delta Flight 447, still parked at JFK. The plane hadn't even left the gate yet, but you could feel a storm brewing, passengers shifting, first-class folks staring, the girl in question, Maya, holding her breath like she was afraid to let go, hands trembling, dark eyes glistening with tears as she tried to explain, barely above a whisper. Please, I can't breathe without it. But the flight attendant, Janet Morrison, just snatched her inhaler, holding it up like a cop flashing contraband, making sure everyone saw. Next, you'll tell me this candy is chemotherapy, Janet said, her voice slicing through the first-class section, sharp and cold as a scalpel, while phones came out. People filming because this is America and nobody helps first. They record. You know what I mean. Maya tried to reach for her inhaler, her medical bracelet flashing in the cabin lights, but Janet wasn't buying it. That's fake jewelry, she said, eyes hard as marbles. I've seen it all before. The truth was, Janet had been working Delta for 12 years, took pride in knowing who belonged where, and sniffing out trouble. And to her, Maya, 17, skinny, thrift store jeans, hair in a no-nonsense ponytail, sitting in the wrong section, just didn't look like she belonged in first class. She sure didn't look like the kind of kid you'd expect to have a real medical emergency. So Janet kept the inhaler, the whole cabin getting quieter except for the whisper of Maya's breathing turning into ragged little gasps, sweat beading her forehead, her hands shaking as she pointed at the bracelet again. Please, I have asthma. But Janet only rolled her eyes, already moving on in her mind. There was this passenger in row 15, Tina Rodriguez, who had been live-streaming her travels on Instagram for years. At Travelina here, y'all need to see this discrimination happening right now on Delta 447. And suddenly it wasn't just 100 eyes watching Maya's humiliation. It was 500, then 10,000. The story blowing up in real time. Hashtag Delta discrimination beginning to trend. Meanwhile, Maya's phone was buzzing nonstop in her lap, her dad calling over and over, but all she could focus on was not passing out. Her boarding pass, crumpled, showed 2A, first class. But here she was in 23F, coach, confusion on top of fear, and when Janet announced, either this medicine goes in the trash or you get off my plane, it sent a shudder down the rows, some people craning their necks to see, others shrinking back like they wanted to disappear. Maya's breathing got worse, shallow and fast. The unmistakable look of a kid on the edge of a full-blown asthma attack. But Janet just saw a drama queen. Right, I'm sure. Your people will be calling their lawyers. And her words just kinda hung there, ugly and obvious. While Tina's phone now had 50,000 people watching, and the comments flooded in, outrage building. In the back, an older gentleman, Dr. Henry Chun, started to get up, saying, "Excuse me, but that young lady is showing signs of severe respiratory distress." And Janet shut him down. "Stay seated, sir. This is a crew matter." But the tension in the cabin was so thick you could feel it buzzing in your skin. Suddenly Maria Santos, the flight supervisor, boarded with her radio crackling. Something about priority passengers, corporate notifications, but all Janet could say was, she's bringing narcotics aboard, classic drug user behavior, still clinging to her authority, refusing to see what was right in front of her. But Maya was slipping, wheezing so loud the folks 3 rows away could hear, lips starting to go blue, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Tina's stream was exploding now. Hashtag let Maya breathe everywhere. 100,000 people watching live. And Dr. Chin finally couldn't stand it. She needs her medication now. But Janet was in too deep to back out. Protocol was her shield, her excuse. That's when the TSA showed up, 2 agents called by Janet to remove the non-compliant passenger. They went to Maya's row, professional, polite, but clueless. "Ma'am, you need to come with us." And Maya tried to answer, but all she could do was wheeze. Her dad's number popped up one more time, and this time, even in her panic, she hit answer. And though nobody could really hear her side of the call, you could see something shift in her face, a flicker of hope, or maybe something stronger. When she handed the phone to Janet and said, "He wants to talk to you," you could feel the temperature in the plane drop by 5 degrees. Janet rolled her eyes until the voice on the other end said, "This is Captain Marcus Thompson, Delta Airlines employee number 7439, Chief of Flight Operations. To whom am I speaking?" The color drained right out of Janet's face. Passengers turned, recognizing the name, realizing Maya's dad wasn't just some angry parent. He was the man who ran flight operations for the entire company. "You're currently denying my daughter access to her prescribed asthma medication. Is that correct?" Captain Thompson's voice was calm, dangerous, like the moment before thunder. Janet stammered, "I was just following protocol." But it was over. She'd lost control, lost the crowd, lost even the TSA agents, who now realized they were caught in something way bigger than a standard passenger removal. Maria Santos, recognizing the magnitude of what was about to go down, stepped forward to say they'd return the medication immediately, but Captain Thompson just said, "Too late for immediate resolution. This incident is live to over 500,000 viewers. The damage is done." Janet, hands shaking, gave Maya back her inhaler. The kid used it, her breathing slowly coming back, but the moment had already shifted. Janet asked, "How can you be here in 18 minutes?" And Captain Thompson, a little amusement now, said, "I'm at Terminal 4, Gate 23. My flight landed 12 minutes ago. I'll be boarding in 60 seconds. That hit the cabin like a revelation. The man was literally walking down the jet bridge as he spoke. When Captain Thompson finally appeared, filling the doorway, you could hear a pin drop. He went straight to his daughter, asked how she felt, then turned to Janet, who was standing in the aisle, looking about as lost as anyone ever could. "Do you understand the magnitude of what you've done?" he asked, then laid it all out. Lost revenue, lawsuits, federal violations, but more than that, the moral cost, the simple humanity lost in those 18 minutes of humiliation. He gave Janet a choice: resign with a neutral reference, or be terminated, blacklisted, and possibly face criminal charges. Janet, shaking, chose resignation. She handed over her badge and wings. Before leaving, Captain Thompson told her, "You will issue a public apology to my daughter, not for your job, but because she deserved basic human dignity." Janet, tears streaming, said, "Maya, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me." Maya quietly said, "I forgive you, but I hope you learn from this." Captain Thompson called the Delta CEO right there, making it clear this wouldn't be swept under the rug. He addressed the entire cabin, apologized, moved Maya to first class, and as she settled into her seat, her rightful seat, Dr. Chin came by, said, "Your daughter handled herself with remarkable grace." Her dad said he was proud but also angry that she had to go through it at all. The live stream had now hit over 1 million viewers. Within hours, Delta implemented new policies, 40 hours of medical device training for all flight attendants, immediate app integration for medical alerts, sweeping industry change. Other airlines called, asking for the same reforms. Dr. Chen reached out to the American Medical Association, working to standardize protocols across all of aviation. Maya's 18 minutes of hell became the spark for systemic change, not just at Delta, but across the country. 6 months later, Maya testified before Congress as an MIT freshman, explaining how the reforms had reduced discrimination complaints by 78%. Her story was taught in business schools, referenced in law, cited in airline boardrooms. Her dad, now VP of Inclusive Operations, led a movement for dignity and justice in the skies. And as for Janet, her career was over, her name now a cautionary tale. But Maya still hoped she learned something about decency, about not letting fear or bias drive your actions. What happened that day wasn't just about one flight, one mistake, one humiliation. It was a reminder that ordinary people, armed with truth and a camera, can force accountability in real time. That courage matters, even if your voice is shaking, even if you're just a kid on a plane, fighting to breathe. So let me ask you, have you ever witnessed injustice that deserved to be called out? Did you say something, or let it slide? Share your story in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want more real stories about justice and courage, and pass this video along if you believe in the power of standing up, even when it's hard, because sometimes all it takes is one voice and one moment to change the whole world.